Okay, our beloved. So our another has asked us for a take two just to see if we can be a bit more concise. She did like our message, but would like for it to be under 15 minutes so she can also post it on Instagram. So we shall see if we can be less wordy. So our last message was about how your childhood, your experiences created your coping mechanisms, and how every time somebody triggers you and your automatic response to that circumstance best tells you what your survival mechanism is that you adopted during your childhood. So if you all could just simply stop your reactions to one another and instead just sit with how you feel when something or someone triggers you. And instead of reacting or responding or replying or anything, and you just simply say, hold on, I must go endeavor to dig deep to figure out why you're making me so angry. And I'll come back to you and let you know what I think in about half an hour, all the way up to 3 years. Some of you are really, truly beginning to see and to express to others how your childhood experiences cause these patterns within you. What worked to keep you safe when you were young is what you just use as your go-to. So if you were beaten when you were young, you have a particular response. It can be fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. In general, you guys love to put things in boxes and categories. So think about that. Fight, hit back, flight, run away, freeze, you just stand there not certain what to do while you figure out what the appropriate response is, and fawn. And fawn is where, to a certain extent, you lay down and play dead and make nice. Those are the 4 basic mechanisms from which you chose your solution. And that, for the most part, is what you have adopted and implemented throughout your lives. But now let's pretend that you were raised during those formative years where you figure out how this program of life works. Let's pretend that you were raised in a family where you were never, ever triggered, harmed, terrified, hurt, scared, manipulated, insulted, denigrated, made to feel small, abandoned, abducted. There's so many different adjectives, verbs, nouns that could be used to describe a childhood that was anything less than 100% trusting. Regardless of how bad this experience was, it was your internal response or reaction that dictates what your survival technique is. And some of you adopted varying ones, but as a whole you chose 1 or 2 of them. And these are your attachment styles or your attachment disorder styles. And we are simply trying to pull you from the outer edges of the universe back into that central point of wholeness where unconditional love reigns. But you can't get there until you know that you're not there. So long as you encourage others to continue abusing children in order to get them to comply or behave, you are not loving self and you are not loving others. Pretend a childhood where a child is revered as Jesus. Picture that, or as Buddha, or as Mohammed, or as Krishna. It doesn't matter. The point being is that if you see each child as the Holy One, the Holy Grail, would you ever yell at this child? Would you ever beat this child? Would you ever abandon or starve or pull the hair out or burn with a cigarette or inject with heroin? Would you ever do any of those things if you are gifted with the embodiment of the divine? Well, this is where we wish for you all to get back to recognize that your children are divine, as are you. And when you treat anyone as lesser than, you are harming them, because this is making them feel less than safe or secure within their own bodies. Now we realize you are humans and you are flawed. We realize that. But we're trying to show you or teach you the goal. The goal is not to create the most horrendous childhood so that your child can show how strong and tough they are. It is to do the opposite, to teach them the lack of resiliency, the lack of the ability to survive. It is here to teach them that life is love and that they are loved by the universe and by their caregivers and by their family members, by their community, and by those that they come into who are in a place of authority, that those in the place of authority will care for them as if they were the least as well as the greatest amongst you all. And that is it. It's a different flavor of the first message, a little more concise, and we think maybe a little bit more pointed as well, because you all have difficulty with this concept that we are sharing, for those of you who are still not on the bandwagon. And we're trying to describe and explain it in many different ways so that for each of you, where you have a time capsule that needs a particular vibration or energetic imprint in order to awaken, that we would offer it to you today. And so today we may have 3 new people, or we may have 1,000,000 new people who resonate with the vibration of this message. And whether it is 3 or 1,000,000 doesn't matter, because the point is that each of you is as worthy as another. And if just one of you comes to the realization that you are a divine being today, then that is all that matters, because you and just you are worthy of being saved from the experiences within which you find yourselves, where you feel stuck. You are as worthy as the next, and we would all give our energetic lives just for you and your resurrection. You are just as worthy as the Christ and as Buddha and as Krishna and as Mohammed and as all of the other masters as you have designated them, as you all are simply one. That is it for today. We love you, and we continue to be here to help humanity to find its way back to one another and to self. And so it is. Namaste.